ours is a Linux Foundation mentee at Kubernetes in the Spring cohort and now a GSOC fellow at CNCF. And Madhav has been quite active in contributing to the SIGs of Kubernetes, basically API machinery, architecture, and nodes. So if you are from Indev's channel, so you know Madhav how he triages issues and help individual contributors who start with it. And also these guys have done some important contributions to this project. So yeah, we have them today for like we will have a kind of discussion a session where we will discuss about what is open source and why should everyone contribute to it, and also we'll touch few points on the CNCF landscape and what are the programs present to get into CNCF project as a beginner, or as a beginner, like how the whole you should break whole the stigma of contributing to open source and start contributing. Yeah, that's the introduction about the speakers, and I think that's the main motive of our session. Like it's a very beginner's guide. If you don't know what is open source and just have never heard of it, also not an issue. We have Madhav and Arsh. They will take care of it, like how to make you understand about whole nitty-gritties of open source. And also you can connect with them in their individual Twitter channels. Also could connect with them in the Slack, Kubernetes Slack. I'll be sharing the links in the chat for you guys. Okay. Well, let me start up with open source, and then Madhav could probably take over from me. So yeah, what is open source? As you know, this is a very naive definition of what is open source and what we really do in open source. Basically, when we come about the term of open source software, it's a project or software where multiple people from various domains or various professions come up and contribute, irrespective of the companies, their daily jobs or anything. They come up, they bring together varieties of talent and variety of ideas, and they contribute. And these contributions are taken in a very organized way. Like when I mentioned about projects like React, Linux, or Kubernetes, they have various groups, special interest groups, we call them, to cater to various parts of the projects. And then there come up people like us who are called as contributors, like Madhav or me or anyone of you present here. Have you ever contributed or added something to an open source repository? Maybe you have merged a PR. Then you are called a contributor, and you are also part of that open source project. So basically, open source has two parts. One is the technical part, where the repository is there in the version control system, that is GitHub. You usually see that. And then there is a community, which is basically placed in an IRC channel, whether it be Slack, Zulip, or anything. And there is where the real conversations takes place within the developers. They hang out, they discuss about some of the features that is coming up, or any other. If you are an individual contributor who's starting up and stuck up somewhere, that is the place. The community is the place where you should try to interact and start opening up with all your problems. And then there is this repository where everything is organized related to that project. Everything from source code to technical documentation is there. Yeah, that's all about like open source. And there are various governing policies and license which regulates this whole open source projects, as these are major projects which have crucial value in industry, as well as are used by various companies in the very crucial projects. Yeah, so I think Madhav, you can take over from here and start up with why to contribute.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for that. Um, can anyone else hear an echo by any chance, or is it just me?
A little bit.
Okay, so maybe if other folks can go on mute. Yeah, all right, sounds good. Thanks. So what I mainly wanted to talk about today was what it means, first of all, to contribute to open source, and secondly, and this is probably what you might want to know more, how do you go about doing that, right? And Arsh probably can add in a lot of his experiences here as well. So starting off, why would you want to contribute to open source? And to add on to more of what Deva said in terms of what even is open source, So open source these days has a connotation of uh, something that you need to be very technically inclined towards to be get for you to be able to get involved, which is not really true. Open source is basically anything that you can add value to by putting in your time, and it's a two-way street that takes place. So the first thing you do is you join a particular community of any sorts. So this club's event that you're attending, this club is a community. Kubernetes is a community. Almost all open source projects have communities around them. So what the first thing you do is you join a community, and the most important thing is you be a part of that community. And being a part of that community means learning from what people there have experienced and asking for help as well. Asking for help honest is probably the scariest thing for anyone who's getting started in open source, but it's also the most important step, because once you ask for help, not only will you get what you asked for, you'll also get a lot of the context behind that person's experiences, that who's helping you out. So for example, I'll tell you some of my personal experiences. So when I first got started in Kubernetes, the way I got started was there were two main events sort of thing that got me started. One of them was there is this person in the Kubernetes community whose nickname is Dims. A lot of you might have heard about him or even know him. So what he used to do was every Friday he used to do Zoom calls with people on Twitter. So he used to put up a message saying that you can DM me on a Friday, and I will send you a calendar link for a Zoom call. So I thought, okay, this is super scary because I haven't done anything here. I want to do more, but talking to someone who is so prominent in the community and has done so much for the community is definitely a very scary thing to do. But what's the worst that could happen, right? I have nothing to lose here, so let me go ahead and reach out. So I reached out to him. I texted him. I'm like, hey, I'd like to I'd like to talk if that's okay. And so 10 minutes later, he sent me a calendar invite with like a Zoom link. And that Friday, I spoke to him, and I was like super nervous. So the first thing I told him was, I have to be honest with you, I am so nervous right now. Like, I don't know what to. I had a set of questions prepared, but like all of this just evaporated from my mind right now. It's like, it's okay, don't worry about it. Let's start simple. Tell me your name, where you're from. And he was super nice about it. So we started talking, and then I'm like, okay, I've always wanted to ask this, so I asked that. Then he told me the answer to that, and he also told me a bunch of other stuff that's going on around that I can try and look at. So I kept asking him questions, and he kept telling me these answers to those questions. So I'm like, okay, this is great. I didn't have any information, and now I have so much information that I need to actually write it down and make sure that I go through all of this after the call. So the important thing is to actually just like take that first step and ask that first question. And once you are able to, once you're comfortable with that project, and when I say comfortable, not I don't just mean in terms of how the technical aspect of it works. It's okay if you're not comfortable with that. You can be comfortable with how the community itself runs. So in terms of how meetings are organized, or how events take place in the community, what type of events take place in the community, things like that. Once you're comfortable with some aspect of it, then you won't find it difficult at all to give back. So the most important thing here, and this is the goal of any community. So the biggest end goal here is that you should be able to give back to the community what you were able to learn from it. So for example, I was able to learn a lot on the technical side of things from the community. I used to ask a lot of questions to a lot of other folks, and uh, I got ignored sometimes. I got good responses sometimes. But Kubernetes as like a technical project is really, really interesting. So that was a good thing for me, at least. Kubernetes might not be your thing, and that's totally okay as well. But what I learned from the community was like the technical aspect of it, and I also learned how some of the other internal community workings took place. So I learned about things like code walkthrough sessions that happen. I learned about things like how meetings are organized, what is required for meetups, um, what barriers do beginners face when they come into the community, things like that. So now what I'm focusing on is, obviously I'm trying to help the community in terms of getting working on new features and work solving existing issues and things like that. But one of the major things I'm trying to focus on is trying to give back to the community now. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm able to help as many new contributors who are coming into the community. I'm trying to see how many new beginner friendly issues I can create for people to take up and things like that. And it's definitely very overwhelming when you first join. I'm not saying it won't be overwhelming, it'll be easygoing. That's definitely not the case. So that's not the case in Kubernetes. I'm pretty sure every other community also has a certain level of initial barrier to it. But once you get there, it's it's pretty good after that. Like, you enjoy doing what you're doing. It's still not going to be easy, but at least you know what's going on and things like that. And the second thing I wanted to mention was these days there's um, a lot of industrial connotation to open source. Uh, that's definitely a very, very important aspect to it. I would say that open source is definitely a very big driving force in the industry today, especially CNCF projects and CNCF communities. But the way I look at open source is, as I mentioned, it's all about the community part of it. And once you're part of the community, once you're giving back, once you're learning from the community, everything else that you've wanted out of open source just basically falls into place for you, because you're doing it for the right reasons. You're not doing it out of a particular reason that you thought open source was about or anything like that. um and yeah, so that's like the general idea about it. So just to summarize all of these ramblings that I went on, first thing is, I would say, find a project or a community that interests you. It's okay if you can't find one also. If you've heard about something, go join it and see if you like it. If you don't like it, it's all right. You can always move on to something else. So if you've heard of Kubernetes, come join the Kubernetes Slack. I'm sure they'll share the links with you. And if you join the Slack, please make sure that you join the InDev channel, which is where the upstream Indian community of contributors hangs out and like does all sorts of fun and interesting things together. And yeah, so to sum up, join a community. It's okay if you don't understand, just observe, try and see what you can learn from it. If you have doubts, ask them. It's totally okay to be wrong. And the most important thing, and now coming to how you can get started with Kubernetes, and then I'll hand it off to Arsh to give his side of things as well. So
Just sorry to interrupt you here.
yeah,
So here's like a mid-talk action item. I've dropped the link to the Kubernetes Slack. Join
okay.
it. Go to the InDev channel. Just drop a hi. Okay. So
Yeah, just introduce it.
that would, even if you do that, like you would have covered like 30% of your initial fear.
Yeah,
Just do that right now. Okay.
yeah, just
The
say
link is
hi.
there. Yeah. Sorry. Continue.
Yeah, so coming to how to get started to Kubernetes. So Kubernetes, you might have heard that it's one of the largest communities there is. It's one of the largest open source projects there is. All of that is definitely true. But it's also, what is untrue about this is that um, there's this there's this misconception that it's really difficult to get started in Kubernetes, and it's really difficult to get any sort of contribution into Kubernetes. That's not true exactly, because Kubernetes as a project is so huge that not just Kubernetes, there are other projects that support Kubernetes around Kubernetes. So there are things like there are different GitHub organizations under the Kubernetes umbrella, and there's just so much going on that there is a very, very big need for help in at least the Kubernetes community. And I mentioned this before as well, and I'll tell this now also so that you guys have a little bit of perspective. If you look at the contributor statistics, more than 50% of contributions come from less than 10% of contributors to Kubernetes. So if you see, there is about 50% of work that is there, which falls on the shoulders of that 10% of contributors. So there is such a big gap to be filled, and that this sort of gives you an idea of how much help is needed and how much work is there to be taken up in the Kubernetes community itself. So even if you just drop a hi saying that, hey, my name is so and so, these are my interests, can you please help me out? I would love to help out here. How can I get started? And people will be more than willing to give you resources and give you issues to work on, and then even tell you what to do, how you can go about doing it. And even they'll even help you to the point where they'll tell you how you can send in a pull request, or how you can fix merge conflicts, or how you can rebase your pull request. I mean, these words might not make sense to you if you're new to open source, but that's totally okay. Git still doesn't make sense to me till now. It's just like I just press button and I hope things work out. If it doesn't, I delete my fork and refork the repo. But just don't be afraid to ask for help, right? So these people are some of the best people I've ever met, the whole Kubernetes community. And I'm pretty sure the same thing holds for any CNCF community out there. I can't speak for other organizations because I haven't been a part of them. But at least for the Kubernetes side of things, just don't be afraid to step in and ask. You don't need to know anything at all. Just like, hey, my name is so and so. I'm new to this community. I'm looking forward to helping out. Thanks. And people will just like, at least they'll know you exist here. That they'll keep you in mind if any beginner friendly issues come up. So yeah, Arsh, you can probably take over now.
Sure.
Thanks.
Just to add to that, so like when Madhav and me were completely new, there's this wonderful human in the Kubernetes community called Nikita. She's who introduced us to all of this. So we also just like dropped a hi that we want to help, and like every time there would be an easy issue, even if like the issue was complicated, I still remember she put out like a very nice description that this needs to be done, and then she pinged me and Madhav and some other folks who said that they wanted to help. So with this, what I want to say is that just drop that hi, okay? Go to that link and drop that hi right now. Yeah. So where exactly should I like continue? Devita, do you like what's the next thing do you want to cover?
Yeah, you could go on with how you contributed to Kubernetes and throw some light about the programs you were part of and how they helped you in that.
Okay, all right, sure. So with Kubernetes, if you're a student, which you all are, they are like, yeah, perfect. So there are a couple of programs which are these, and then there's I think also Google Summer of Talks. And
Yeah.
so the program that I was introduced to the community through was the Linux Foundation mentorship program, which Devita also did, but I think he did not do it with Kubernetes. He did it with another project.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is one of the like one of the I'd say the easier ways to get into the community, because like you get a mentor who gives you attention, like you have calls with them and you are focused on one particular project rather than introduced to like the entire thing, because it's overwhelming, right? I did not understand a lot of the terminology of SIGs and all whatever were until like 1 month into my mentorship. So I'll be very honest here, I wasn't even sure that I'd applied to Kubernetes when I'd signed up for the mentorship program, because it said something like SIG architecture Kubernetes. So I had no clue. And the reason I picked the project up is because of Dims. Like Dims is the person Madhav mentioned he had a call with. He's like one of the kindest humans you'll meet. And I had heard about him. I had never talked to him. And I was like, he's mentoring a project, okay? And the project had skills listed in it as like Golang and Kubernetes. I did not know Golang. And I was like, this super well-informed person is mentoring a project. Like, what should I do? I want to do this, but I was so scared. And I think for a week, I just kept fighting within myself. Should I text him? Should I not? What will happen? This, that. And until one day I just like dropped him a message, and that is, I think, where my like journey into Kubernetes began. And he was like very kind. He just gave me pointers that, see, if you're interested in the project, this is all we have talked about earlier. Go through that. And I went through that, and I asked him more questions. He would give me answers and more resources to look at. And that way, it's all starts coming into like in a particular direction. So that is like, I'd suggest that one of the, if you're looking for a way to enter the community, that is one way. The other way is, like Madhav discussed, and Madhav can speak about this better, is through sticking around. Like I did not like know about the existence of the Slack space or the Kubernetes before my mentorship, and I think Madhav was doing all the good work even before that. So he'll cover that later. Yeah. So this was about Linux Foundation mentorship. Google Summer of Code is not something which is specific to CNCF. Like Linux Foundation mentorship has a lot of CNCF related projects like Kubernetes or other things like Caverno, Cert Manager, and all that sort of stuff. Google Summer of Code is more of like everything, like every project which is open source can apply to it, and CNCF applies to it. But like the under CNCF also, right? Like there are multiple projects like Kubernetes and the other names I took. Kubernetes will have, like, you can be at least sure that Kubernetes will have at least one project. So that is something you can take a look at. One important link I wanted to share was the mentoring repo. Just give me a second. Yeah, so if any of you are like interested into entering in the community through one of these mentorship programs, I just posted a GitHub link which is to the CNCF mentoring repository, and you should definitely keep an eye out there, because as like whatever updates or programs are announced, it is here, and you would like know about it as soon as it happens. So can we like go to the next slide?
So
This was
this,
last slide actually.
just to add a little bit to what he's mentioned. So just he mentioned about like sticking around and like observing, right? I'm just going to tell a lot of like weird things that I tried to do to like understand how things worked here, because like I had no idea and I didn't really have a mentor of sorts in the community. So what I did was I knew a few areas of interest that I wanted to focus on. So back then I was really interested and I was really into sort of the lower level system sort of thing. So working with like the kernel and like doing things at the kernel level rather than at like a higher cloud computing level of sorts. That was more my interest that time. So I'm like, okay, I told this to Dims. I'm like, so I'm going to tell you what my interest is, but I don't know I don't know what to Google to make sure that I get information about that in Kubernetes. So he's like, okay, there are these things called SIGs, and in SIGs you can look at this thing called SIG-Node. I'm like, okay, cool. So I went there, and those interests aligned a lot for me. So I'm like, great. Now he said, try and attend the weekly meetings. So weekly meetings, when I say, what I mean is so first of all, a little bit of context on what SIGs are, because like we've been throwing around this term quite a lot. SIGs are a SIG stands for a special interest group. So you can think of a SIG as a sub community inside Kubernetes which works on a specific area of the project. Now, every SIG has periodic meetings which take place. Some SIGs have meetings every week. Some SIGs have meetings once in 2 weeks, and it depends on what the SIG is. And per SIG, you can have multiple meetings per week also, depending on what the project that they're working on is. So SIG Node, which was my SIG of interest, they had weekly meetings. So I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and join. And these meetings were at like 10:30 in the night every Tuesday. So I joined those meetings, and I knew they were talking in English, but like nothing was registering at all. Like I understood individual words, like I understood pronouns and I understood propositions, but I had no idea. So I'm like, okay, this is way too overwhelming. I don't know what I'm gonna do. So what I started doing was, and this is like Dim's philosophy as well. So he's like, when you join the community, be a fly on the wall. So that's what he used to say to me. This is be a fly on the wall. So I'm like, okay, whatever I heard, I used to write down like random words in like a Google Doc or like whatever I had open that time. I used to write down random words, and after the meeting, I used to go and Google them. So I'm like, oh, okay, this is what it means. And then I'm like, okay, so next meeting, again, some like bunch of random words. I'm like, okay, write them down. And I used to like Google them. I'm like, okay, this is pretty interesting. So I started digging more and more into what these words meant and how things worked. And then I'm like, why does it have to be this complicated? Like, why is it this complicated? Then I started looking more into why Kubernetes is the way it is. And I'm like, okay, this is really cool. This is super, super interesting. And I spent around 4 months just understanding Kubernetes and what was happening in SIG node alone. Rather, leave alone moving on to other SIGs. I spent 4 months understanding what's happening in SIG node, and I still am at like a 30% level of understanding. I still don't know a lot of the things that they're discussing, but now I at least know how I can ask questions. So now if something comes up after the meeting, I put a message on their Slack channel, and someone eventually replies back saying that you can look at this, and things sort of get cleared up after that. So it'll take some time, but my suggestion would be to have fun with the project, to have fun with like learning about the project. And there are only so many good first issues that you can work on, because after a point, if you want to contribute to the technical side of things, if you want to contribute to the non-technical side, that is more than okay. That is a super, super good thing to do. But in case you are more on the technical side of things, if you want to contribute more you will have to understand how the project works, right? Otherwise it'll be very difficult for you, because there are only so many good first issues and so many beginner friendly issues that you can work. So there's only so many links that you can fix, or there's only so many comments that you can add or whatever, right? At some point you'll need to know what things are and how things work to be able to um, work on other things that happen. So, and coming to like the non-code contribution side of things, there's a lot of opportunity there as well in Kubernetes. So documentation, there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity in community management and helping out community with um, organizing meetings, having calendars synced up, YouTube admins, Zoom admins. There's just so much. And recently um, there might be one more thing that I might work on, which is documentation related. So if you come say hi on Indev and mention that I'd love to help out, I can probably include you in that particular piece of work. That's probably going to be like an umbrella issue of sorts. So 4 to 5 people can work on that one issue. So if you drop in a message, I can keep you in mind and include you. And there's basically a lot of things that are going on. Just need to say hello, uh, willing to help out.
So we have the first person who texted in the INDEF, British. Thank you for doing that. Why aren't like everyone just take 5 minutes, okay? Like we can stop, just go there, just drop an hi, okay? Just drop HI, okay? Don't need to do anything fancy. Just do that. Because the reason I'm saying that is like in any open source community, the faster you gain the confidence of just talking to people or just like asking your doubts. Once you do that, like your journey will be so much more easier and you'll see yourself grow at like such a rapid pace than if you not do that. So take this first step. This is like the perfect opportunity. Just drop an hi. Yeah. Demeter, do you want to like share your journey and then maybe we could just do
Yeah,
an
actually, I want to add on this high thing. Recently, you guys must be knowing that Long messaged in our group that there was someone required in Ingress controller did, and I joined that. I just dropped a hi, and if you go to that particular Slack channel now and see after my hi, Long welcome me. Okay, welcome Deva, and there is a thread of around 200 messages on that particular welcome message, and we have discussed so much that even like as Madhav said, he called on Dims on a random day, message to Dims, and he sent him a Zoom call. And Long called me on Slack and directly started explaining me how the things work. And when he came to know that I'm complete beginner, I don't have any idea on the web protocols, engines, and all that, he completely started from the level of OS, like which operating system I should be having, what all virtual machine I should be having. Like we, like within 2 days, I think we had
Just
found.
just as you speak. Long as commented in the dropped a message in the channel welcoming Pratesh. Come on, do that. People, like you're
Yeah.
56,
sorry
one
for
of you there.
interrupting.
Just take 5 minutes at least. We should like, can we see 25 messages? We'll be more than happy if you can just 25 highs, please. That's all we ask. Yeah, sorry, Devita, continue.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying. He completely told me how to set the things up, and he came up with two suggestions to me. Like I was for solving some good first issues, and I'll say you one thing. As Madhav said, no, there are very little good first issues to solve, but you will be amazed to know that in Ingress devs there are good first issues lying from months, and it hasn't been solved. Why? Because the project is quite complex. Even if you want to solve a good first issue, you need to have a good understanding. So Long came up with two options for me. See, I will explain you this issue. You just go right away solve this, or I'll give you like another option. I will say you what I have learned. Like he is someone into systems engineering and all that. So I said, okay, let's go with the second one. You make me understand what's the thing. And he came up with so much that what Madhav literally said, he was noting down random words. I did the same. I noted down random words, directives, modules, etc., and I googled it afterwards. And then I got a perspective somewhat about what he's speaking. And yeah, I'm also completely new. If you join now and start contributing to Ingress controllers and all that, we both will be in the same position. Okay, I don't know much about it, you also don't know much about it. We could start together and contribute, and that's how things work. Okay, people will help you. People people like Dems, Long, Nikita, they are quite experienced with the project. They know how things work, and they can help you. And also what Long suggested me is, see, if you are looking at some issue and you don't know how to solve it, but you are able to understand it, what the issue is, but the person who has started the issue or who has asked the question has put it in a wrong perspective, which is quite difficult for anyone to understand. So you could help in triaging. Means you just do the same thing that the person is trying to do. Suppose he has a VM, he has given all the details of his machine and what scenario he is trying to build up. You build the same scenario in your system and see what the problem is and whether he is pointing out at the right point or not. Maybe he might be pointing out that this directory has an issue, but you feel that no, that's not the place where the issue is. The issue is at somewhere else. So if you're able to point out that, then you are saving a lot of time of the other contributors who would take only 4-5 minutes after they know that, okay, this directory has problem and they can change it. And this triaging actually takes hours of time. But once you reach the point where you know which part has to be changed, that only takes 4-5 minutes of time. So that's also a kind of thing we do in open source, especially in complex projects like Kubernetes. And like, as Madhav said, he has 30% of knowledge. I don't have much knowledge because I came up from some complete other project that is called Chaos Mess. So I know very little about what Kubernetes is. I only knew about the controllers of the Kubernetes, CRDs, and all those. I even don't know how they work and how they are linked up. So now I started from KubeCon. I attended the KubeCon, and after that, that KCD Bangalore thing, and I interacted with these guys. And after that, I became quite active in the Kubernetes Slack. Otherwise, the main place I was active in the CNCF Slack in my project channel. So yeah, we started, and now I'm learning so much thing about Kubernetes. And I am at a position like now I could close 3-4 good first issues in coming days. Not coming days, probably tomorrow I'll mask the PRs that I have changed in these 2 days. So yeah, so that's how you get started, and that's how it goes on.
Okay, so I think we should like do and ask us anything sort of thing now. But before we do that, like I just wanted to ask if any of you are facing any problem joining Slack. because that's like totally normal. I didn't even know what Slack was. If you're facing in,
I think his audio is cutting out. Is he audible to you?
No, Ars, I think we lost Ars. Ars, you could like. Ars, are you able to hear us?
I've pinged him. He should probably rejoin soon.
Okay.
Yeah, his internet died a little bit. So he should be back soon.
Yeah. So we could go on with questions. Anyone having questions about?
Yeah, so much about like ask questions and all.
Yeah.
So anyone has just like anything at all doesn't
can you
matter.
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. There's a lot
Yeah,
of static though.
Probably 'cause wait, is it better?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
No starting. Yeah, the electricity just went. Sad story. But yeah, so is everyone like able to join Slack and stuff?
I think they. I don't think they have the permission to speak up. If they can put in chat.
That no, I think like could you give them that, because otherwise
Yeah, I think.
we have
give them,
like some more action
I
items.
think
That'd
we
be
could
really
give them
cool.
that permission to speak. Or if you're trying to speak anything, you could raise your hand and they could unmute you guys and you could speak.
Wait, is it? I thought everyone could at least speak, if not share screen or whatever.
Sorry.
No, like I thought people could at least speak, if not like share screen.
Yes, Bhaiya, we can speak up.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, so if anyone has questions, please, anything at all, feel free to ask.
Yeah. Any question? No question
And
is named.
If you
just
don't have questions, then I have a question that why aren't you joining Slack?
no. So just like as an optional thing, if it's possible, try and switch on your video. It's totally okay if you can't. Fully okay. There's no restriction at all. This is just so that we can like see each other and get to know each other better. But if you can't, it's totally okay because of whatever reason you're not comfortable, you don't have the internet bandwidth. It's totally okay. But I just wanted to just throw this out there. So okay, moving on to questions, if anyone has any.
Or any part you didn't get it, like you could just get it clarified, That's how we do in community. And like if Madhav and us could say, like in breakout rooms in conferences, we talk for hours and hours. So you guys could come up and just start talking. There is
Yeah,
no.
I think that might be a very good option if people don't speak up for whatever reason. Can you do breakout rooms in Teams?
I don't think so.
Oh, there's a question. You guys could take it up.
Okay. Beginners face a lot initially while contributing, as we don't have much experience in Git. Oh, definitely. I still face issues with Git while contributing. So what I would say is you don't need to know Git in detail. Just know like the basic few commands that you need to know. So know what untracked files are, know what staged files are, know what commit is, push, rebase. Rebase is important, so just try and understand that. And the good thing is
Even
that
I
there's a
don't.
lot.
Even I can't rebase confidently.
So the good thing is there's a lot of information and resources on Git. So actually, let me just like mute myself and send you a video that I would recommend, because like I found that really helpful. So in the meantime, if Arsh has anything else to add. I think his internet went again.
Okay, I could take this thing about. I have no idea about Git and then see every project we have. Yeah, ask you. We got you again. So what I was saying is there's a workflow for every project, okay, Git workflow. So we all follow that. I am sure that Madhav and Ars would also be following the Git workflow of Kubernetes before doing anything.
So here's a proposition for everyone. Would you like a small, like we did plan to do this, but a small walkthrough where you like create a PR to the Kubernetes organization live right now? It'll only take like, we could do it in the last 15 minutes. Would you all be take part? But it'll only work if you all are like engaged and take part. Otherwise, it'll have no point.
Yeah, we could have that. Actually, these people are beginners, so like we could have that thing.
That would introduce you to Git. That would introduce you to making a PR. That would introduce you to Kubernetes org, how it works. But
Also, you'll get your first PR in Kubernetes.
yeah, so you can be a Kubernetes contributor. But you have to
Sure.
be engaged. Yeah, because like right now also like in the channel only 2 people have messaged. So what I was planning for this Git thing was that if someone is like on a machine, they could screen share and we could walk them through that. Because then everyone would be on the same page. Right now, if Madhav, me, or Deva do it from our GitHub account, then we would have already signed something which I'll explain later. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
if
think
anyone volunteers come up, you could have your first. You could be a contributor at Kubernetes today by the end of this session. So could come up. Yeah, there is someone who's saying that he or she can do it.
sure.
Yeah.
So let's do that like in the last couple of minutes, like or right now. Totally up to you.
There might be the CLA issue, so
That's what like I don't remember how I signed my CLA, but if you could like
so
someone
let's
screen shares and yeah.
yeah. So let's do one thing. We can probably give them the steps for signing the CLA,
Exactly.
and then we can show them from our machines, because we've signed the CLA, how to create the PR. So either Deva or Harsh can share screen and show that. And then after that, if anyone needs help with creating the PR, they can always reach out on Slack. So we can
Sounds
probably,
good.
yeah. So we
That
can like
sounds-
Let's
create a
have
thread.
it. Let's like have a action item. Okay.
Yeah.
First, you all will join the Slack channel, which I have been bugging you to do. Then you will sign the CLA, which Madhav, me, and Deba will tell you how to do. And after that, like one of us will screen share and make a PR, and you can repeat the process, and we'll help you wherever you have doubts. All right, sounds good to everyone.
I think we could also share the workflow with these guys, and that is
We can explain the workflow while creating the PR, not an issue.
yes, exactly.
Before that, anyone wants to ask anything, please unmute yourself and like
I think there's a
talk.
question.
Otherwise,
There's a question on the team, like the chat. So someone asked, why is Kubernetes used? Like, so that's a good question. So Arash, do you want to go first?
I think you're more qualified to answer that. But yeah, I
Okay.
think Madhav gave a talk on that, so yeah, he should definitely take that up.
Okay, sure. So before we go into why Kubernetes is used, I'm not going to assume you have any prior knowledge, because I know that a lot of you are just starting out. So very quick primer on what something called container is. If you know, for example, if you downloaded an app on your phone, if you've installed an APK, for example, on your phone, all of these files come with the thing that you want to run, for example. So let's say you want to run some app on your phone. That app probably depends on some other libraries that exist and some other modules that exist. And to run all of this, you need both the dependencies of that app and you need the actual app to run it. So what containers essentially are, and this is like a very, very, very gross oversimplification of the concept, but just to give you an idea, what containers are basically a method for you to package your app and the dependencies that it has into one single unit and run that. And more importantly, it gives you certain isolations in that take place. So for example, you can think of it like, let's say, okay. So let's say you are like on one boat in one ocean right now. And right now, the issue is that there might be other people around you that are in the same ocean but on their different boats. The issue now is that, let's say that for your boat to remain afloat, you need certain amount of water. But because of all of these other entities around you, they might occupy a larger amount of area, or they might not. Let's say something happens and like they kick you off, or something happens, right? And you might not get that amount of water for you to stay afloat. What you can do then is you can put like boundaries around your boat, and you can ensure that you always have that much amount of water around you. So that's what containers also allow you to do. They essentially provide isolation from other things that are running around you. So you can run things with its own worldview, meaning that even if there are other things running, you are under the impression that you are the only thing that is running on that particular system. So that's what on a high level containers are. Now, what the second thing you need to understand is that containers, they can die at any time. They aren't very durable unless you make them durable. But usually containers can die because they are essentially processes. So if you type hello world and you run that, that's a process. So the containers, you can think of them as processes in themselves. So these can die, right? And if you're running something like a website in a container that that you want people to see, you obviously don't want that container to die and never come back up again, right? Because your website would be down then, and that would not be very good. So what you need then is something to manage these containers. And then what happens is you get more and more traffic on your website. And if you get more traffic, what you can do is you can buy more expensive machines to keep up with that. So let's say that you had an i3 processor first, then you need more processing power. You buy an i5 machine, you move to i7, then you buy GPUs, you buy a lot of other hardware, you add more RAM, you add SSDs, all of that good stuff. But at one point, things become too expensive. You can't move to a higher model after a certain point, right? Because you have financial constraints or whatever. So then what you do is you stick to cheaper machines. Let's say I'll stick to i5 right now, but I keep 3 of these i5 machines, right? So I have more power, but I have the lesser costing machine now. So now this is what is known as a distributed system, because you have a lot of these machines, and you need some way to manage them, and you need some way to coordinate computation on each of them. So now what you want to do is you want to say, I want 3 copies of my website. So let's say if Arsh logs into my website, it should go to computer A. If Deva logs into my website, that his request should go to computer B. If someone else logs into a website, their request should go to computer C. So you're distributing that traffic among, so that you don't have too much to work with, right? So you're asking for help. You're distributing some of that traffic to multiple machines. Now, each of these copies is a container, and you need a way to manage these containers, and you need a way to schedule these containers onto these nodes. If they go down, you need a way to bring them back up, and all sorts of interesting things. So Kubernetes, at a very, 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 very high level, is a way to manage your containers reliably and at scale. So when I say at scale, it means that this is a very trivial example, but let's say you are running a system of 3,000 machines with tens of thousands of containers, right? So what Kubernetes does is it allows you to, it gives you a good set of methods for you to sort of manage these containers, and it will manage them for you. And it has a lot of interesting ways that it does that. So on a very high level, that's why Kubernetes is used. So it eases this management of containers and things like that. So I hope I didn't confuse people even more.
And you don't need to know everything about Kubernetes to contribute. You don't need to know everything about the tech stack to contribute.
Yeah.
You just need to be willing, and you just need to be consistent. That's the
Consistent
only
is the
two
most
things.
important.
Yeah. All right. So can can they unmute themselves and talk? Because it's been a less
Yeah,
interactive and
they
it'll
can
be
Yeah,
unmute.
super
I think
good.
people can unmute. Yeah.
Could someone unmute and verify? Just hello, drop him.
Hello, Harsh. Madhav. Hey.
Hey, hi. So,
Hi,
uh,
Devavaya.
Ajesha, like, have you been able to join the Slack? Are you facing any problems there? Because what I wanted was like someone just could, if it'll be great if you could like screen share and then like we can walk you through the entire process of joining Slack and then signing the CLA and then
I
yeah,
don't.
Pritesh, go
I
on
don't.
that.
I don't think we can sign the CLA while sharing screen because they have to like sign.
oh, I
So
genuinely don't remember the process. It was like
yeah.
4 months ago.
So let's not.
Actually,
Let's
they
not do
can,
But
that.
yeah,
they can.
let's do the Slack
Let's.
thing only.
Yeah. So let's one of us do the PR. But for questions, let's create a thread on Indev so that people can join Indev and ask questions if they have any.
Yeah, yeah, cool. That's quite good actually. But if any one of you is able to sign the CLA, I have directly sent up the sign up link. So if any one of you is able to sign up the CLA and get a mail, then say it was like you could directly start with contributing. Not me.
So till then, I think Deba, if you can share screen, you can do the first PR and
Uh,
we can show.
okay, see, I am now in the Windows machine and I don't have Kubernetes set up here.
Let's like wait because we have no clue where people are stuck about the CLA and thing. That's why I was hoping if someone could like unmute and give us some feedback
Yeah,
about what's
exactly.
happening
If
because we
anyone is
might be
stuck,
going too fast.
yeah, yeah, go
Can
on,
you
go on.
say how to start? Once I'm
Sorry.
stuck at how
S-
to start.
so how to start? By how to start, do you mean like join Slack and everything?
I have joined the Slack, but how to start with the CLA?
Okay.
Sure. Just give me 1 second.
Madhav, yeah.
Yeah, just 1 second. Uh, so I think if you click on the link that was sent, um, it has a bunch of steps given that you can do. And once you click on that, you'll have to say, you'll either have to sign in if you already have an account. But if you don't have an account, you can create an account, which is pretty straightforward. Then you can, once you complete some amount of steps, what you will have to do is you'll have to enter your GitHub. Like, if you don't have a GitHub account, create a GitHub account first of all. Then after you do that, you'll have to enter your email ID using which you created your GitHub account for your CLA signing. So CLA, first of all, stands for Contributor License Agreement. So this is what CNCF follows um, to. It's basically an agreement which contributors sign for contributing to projects under CNCF. So once you sign that CLA, only then will you be able to get your PRs merged into Kubernetes. So if you click on the link that was sent, you'll have a step-by-step walkthrough of how you can go about signing your CLA. And the only important or like the only noteworthy thing that I can think of is make
Use
sure you
the
put
same email ID.
make sure you put the same email ID as uh, your GitHub account into the CLA, and then on your local machine you will have to configure your Git. So there are a bunch of commands that are also in that document that will help you configure your Git. So then what you do is you do something called signing your commits, which probably when either like
Yeah, we'll show that.
one of
Don't need
us
to
will
worry.
show us.
I
One of us will show
I'll
you.
once you sign the CLA, I'll just like do the entire thing by sharing my screen. Why can't they share the screen while signing the CLA? Madhav? What would happen if they do?
I think there is no issue in that because you have to log in and the password is not visible actually.
Yeah,
All right, sure.
let's
Do that.
try that. Someone who's like facing problem signing the CLA, please can you, or someone in general, can you volunteer, and so that it'll be easier for everyone. And the
Yeah,
reason
exactly.
we can't
Uh,
do this is
yeah,
because we have
we
already.
can't. Yeah, we can't share our screen.
Yeah,
Can you give them
okay,
access?
just
Yeah.
raise your hand and they will give you the permission.
Yeah, just whoever wants to share, just raise your hand. I'll give you access.
Okay, make both of them presenters. So one by one we could take the issue. Yeah, cool. So anyone could go first and share the screen. Yeah.
Is my screen visible?
Yeah.
I can't see it. So,
Yeah, it's visible.
what? Where?
Oh, you are doing the signing part.
Yeah, this is what I meant. Like, I don't know if it's okay to
Yeah.
I
have this
can't
on
see
recording.
this. I can't see the screen. What are
Can-
you all talking about? Just can you sign, if it's like a confidential thing, just sign into your Google account and then share it maybe.
No, it's
That's
when
Hey,
you sign the CLA, you literally have to sign it, right?
Yeah, Pritesh, do one thing. Don't draw it. Type it. Okay, there is the keyboard option is there. Just keep no. Click on the sign and then see. Yeah. Put your name. It will sign for you.
Why can't I see the screen though? Is this a because I'm on the web version or something?
Even I'm on the web version. Maybe Regent.
Yeah, I'll do that.
cool. I've signed it.
Yeah, you could go on. Yeah, that's it. Click on continue. It will show you some more page. I think.
Yeah, can see it now. Thanks.
Yeah, done. Yeah, you will receive it in your mail.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, just a minute. You will be receiving it.
Sure.
I think by that time you could go and fork and do the setup.
I think
I-
that covers this, right? Nothing else to be done on the CLA part, right?
Yeah. CLA is very easy actually. If you go and if you follow, that's just as a document signing, so you don't have to worry much about it. Just the first page which I sent, you have to sign up and then you can request the document and it will come up. See, there is this individual sign up. Go and click on that and you could come up with that. Yeah, Madhav sent the main part now.
Okay, so let's wait for 5 minutes. Everyone, let
Yeah.
us know in the chat or in the Slack channel if you are facing issues signing the CLA. Yeah, so you got the mail that you've signed it. That's great. Let us know that. And till then, if anyone wants to ask something like in general, you can do that. And after that, we'll like walk you through to making your first PR and probably getting it merged to Kubernetes.
Yeah, anyone having any questions could come up or you could concentrate on signing up on the CLA thing. Yeah, we don't want to. Yeah, there is some question, Madhav, if you could take it after email verification, we have to associate GitHub account. I think, yeah, you will get the third party integration to GitHub.
If you've signed it, then wait a few minutes. You should probably get it soon.
I did get the mail.
Yeah, I saw you. Pritish is
No,
done.
I think there's another person. Santosh is
Yeah,
asking.
exactly. Asking
Okay.
about the HelloShine email. Yeah, just wait a few minutes. Pritish also got it. Just 1 minute after 1. Yeah, cool.
Okay.
Done.
Till then, could you also show the process of joining Slack? Who is British while you're sharing your screen?
Yeah.
Okay, you've already joined, so you can't. Okay.
Yes.
No worries.
I guess I joined it from my mobile.
So just you need to sign in. Just choose the workshop was to speak. No.
I think it's
Uh,
okay.
Go to
Prob-
slack.kh.io.
yeah.
Yeah, it's their Kubernetes. You're basically in depth. Yeah, this is a channel we are talking about from that time. Join here. Well, yeah, if everyone is done with signing the CLA, we could basically start with this playground thing.
Can you please write in the chat if
Yeah, just write
you've
yes.
done
We have
Yeah.
all?
anyone.
If and when you sign in, just put it in the chat. In the meantime, we can probably show the process
Yeah,
and
yeah.
get things going.
I think Arsh, you could show the process of this Mogdanas or Madhav.
Sure. Or we could, Pritesh could. Do you want to do it through Pritesh's screen or
No,
should I
no.
share?
Let's do it.
I'm sure.
We can show the Git config and all of that.
Yeah. That would be better. Yeah, anyone?
Sorry, I should do it or not?
Yeah, if you want to, I can do it otherwise.
No,
It's not
no.
an issue.
I'm asking like, should we have one of like
Yeah,
them
yeah.
do it?
Do it. No,
Yeah.
no, no.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead. No issues. Like one issue that I've seen a lot is the whole Git config part. So a lot of people miss setting that up correctly, and that messes up their commit, and the CLA fails, and then you need to do the whole rebase, removing the commit, force pushing, and this is a lot of unnecessary work involved. So if possible, we can show them step by step how to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have screen share access, Harsh?
Oh wait, I I thought you were saying that they should do it in front of us. So sorry.
No. Yeah. We'll
But
show them.
for me, like it would be already configured, right? So
Yeah, that's all right. So you can just like show the command
sure.
if you have it in your Git history.
Yeah, you have the access to screen share. You could
Thank you.
What to do after the CLA sign in? Yeah, so that's what I will show you now, Nikhil. Yeah.
Probably have to share my entire screen. Can
If
you all see my
possible,
screen?
if possible, delete your fork as well for like contributor playground.
Yep, I'll just like, yeah. Can't delete the fork which is in my account though, right? But that makes no sense also. Like I'll just click the button again. But
Oh,
yeah,
you-
can you all see my screen though?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
visible.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So first thing is you need to go to this URL. I'll drop this in the chat. Sure. The next thing. So what this is I'm echoing. Like, can you all mute yourself?
Yeah.
Thank you. If you want to add on something, just let me know and I'll stop. But yeah. So this is like where the actual code is, and you can't make direct changes to this because otherwise like anyone would just keep making changes to it. So what you need to do is you need to create a copy of this in your under your own GitHub account, right? So that is what forking means, and that is what I'm going to do here. And you'll see that like right now it is under the Kubernetes SIGs organization, but when I fork it, it'll I've already forked it, right? So it'll show you your account here. Just select that and see now the URL says that it's under my GitHub account instead of the Kubernetes SIGs account. All right. You probably won't need to do this, but just ignore this step for now. Yeah. And so once you do this, now you need to get this code onto your machine, and the way you do that is by cloning your fork. I repeat, cloning your fork and not the original repository. So just click on code and copy this URL, and you can do this anywhere. Like I like to do this in this directory, so ignore this step. Yeah, so basically once you're in your directory where you want to do this, just type git clone and then enter this URL. Before I proceed, Madhav, what is the git config thing? I'm not sure about that, so because mine is already
Yeah,
configured, just let me know.
I'll drop the command. So just to give me a second.
So once now that you have this code in your on your system, just go into the directory, and I'll use VS Code. You can use anything. Okay, so right now this is the code which is of like the original code base under your GitHub account. This is that on your system, and GitHub has this concept of branches, which I won't get into much detail, but like there's one branch called master, and that is like the main one. And you are right now on the master branch of your forked copy, right? So what I'm going to do, you can do that on the master branch also, but it is like recommended, and everyone basically creates another branch, and then you use, okay, so just create a branch. Let's like, I don't want to get ahead and confuse yourself. Git checkout dash b. This is like the command for creating a branch. Demo. Okay, I'm going to call this branch demo, and so you'll see like this is because of an extension, but you can confirm that you are on the correct branch by writing git branch. And now that you are on this branch, what we want you to do is go to where is it? It's India remote. You'll see this learners directory. Okay, create a new file here. I'll call it archdemo.md. Just type some message. This is life. Now that you have added this, I don't want to go into the Git details because that is like not the purpose of it. But these like three things you will do almost always. So just like you'll remember them soon enough if you're not familiar. But it's running git add and then dot. So that means add all your changes and then committing them. And this is the part you need to be a little careful. Usually you can just do git commit -m and enter your commit message, but like since you signed the CLA, so CLA basically is that you are like saying that it's okay and I abide by the rules CNCF has, and you can use my code is applicable to that rule. So you have to sign it, and it's very simple. Just add this -s flag. Okay, git commit -s -m. M is for your message, which I'll write commit message from live demo. So now you've made the commit, and what you need to do is just push this demo branch. Okay, so git push demo origin. What?
Origin demo.
Origin demo, yeah. Fuck. Once you push your branch, come back here, or like this is the fork, or you could just like go to the main repository. GitHub is smart enough to prompt you that you have this option to compare and create a pull request. Click on that. It'll automatically take your message. Otherwise, you could add a title. And let's skip this part for now and just add a none here. This is not relevant right now. And click create pull request. And that's it. This is like all you have to do right now. And once you do that, so Kubernetes has a lot of bots running on it. These bots are there to help you. Once you do this once you create your pull request right now live, it needs to be approved by a maintainer of the project or the repository. So to assign that, you could do assign, like I'll assign this to Madhav. You could assign it to either of us. Did I mess up the spelling? Yes. Oh my god, what are the spellings of assign? I feel so embarrassed right now. Excuse me. Madhav, what's the command? I think, what are the spellings of assign? Oh my god.
I've commented. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, see, I think seeing how big of a newbie I am should motivate you all to not be afraid and commit mistakes, as many mistakes you want to. But yeah, so once you assign it, we'll like approve this and you'll get your PR merged. I'll stop sharing my screen now.
No, wait, don't stop. Hold on.
Okay. What do you
So
want?
a couple of things, right? So if you notice over here, almost all Kubernetes repos have this concept of labels. So Arsh, can you just go back to the PR page, your PR? So all Kubernetes repos have this concept of labels. So if you notice, there are different sorts of labels that are available for you to do. So CNCF CLA yes means that you've successfully signed the CLA, and if you've not signed the CLA, then the bot will comment saying that you've not signed the CLA, and it'll tell you instructions on how to sign it. And to get your PR merged, it typically needs two types of labels. One is known as the LGTM label, which stands for looks good to me, and the other is the approve label, which means that the reviewer or the person who is in that code base who is familiar with that code base says that your code is correct and it makes sense and it's solving the issue that it has to solve, and it says okay, great, and you say approve for that. And when you have these two labels, LGTM and approve, and there are no block labels, that is, there are no labels like do not merge or do not merge in progress, things like that, then another bot called Tide will come in and merge your PRs for you.
The only thing we do not want on your PRs is this CNCF no label. If you do not have, if you have this on your PR, we won't be able to merge it. If you have CNCF, yes, then Madhav and me will merge your PR right now. So take a couple of minutes, try this out. If you have any questions, ask us and type in the chat or share your screen and we'll help you through.
So if you notice, I've approved Arsh's PR right now. So it has an LGTM, it has an approve, and it should get merged. So, and it's already
there's a
merged.
wonderful cat also. Let's appreciate the cat. While you're making your PRs, you could try out stuff like Woof. Should give a cute dog photo.
Oh, there are already a few PRs which are coming in.
Oh, that's nice.
So awesome.
Nice
Thanks.
stuff.
So let me go ahead and approve these for you. So I will say LGTM approve. Oof.
Someone just said assign Madhav or Arsh, so you need to like add the actual GitHub. Okay, you have written Madhav or Arsh. Okay, that's not the part after @ is our GitHub username. So for Madhav, that will be his username and not
Yeah,
just his
exactly.
name.
It's just you write @ and try MADH. I think it will come for Madhav. I was it Madhav or us. It's not that you.
Didn't get a chance
That's
to request
okay.
user. Well, that's all right, not an issue. So basically, what happens is when you open a pull request, there is something known as an owner's file which exists, and the owner's file basically tells you who can approve that particular pull request for that particular code part of the code base. So the bot automatically adds reviewers based on the owner files that exist. So that's pretty much why there were already reviewers added for your PR.
You don't need to worry about any of this right now.
Yeah,
This
this
is
is
just
just like
extra
a
info.
FYI sort of thing. Okay, so this is, let's see, change this.
And actually,
So,
the CLA thing is very important because it is CLA here. In some of the CNCF, it's DCO, and it's somewhere it's something else. So you need to sign this off, and there is some command line. Like there are some CLIs that you need to follow. Like while I was working in like this chaos mess, every time I need to commit, I need to do git commit sign off. Otherwise, the DCO certifications every time it fails.
yeah, you have to do that with Kubernetes also. Just make it a habit. Now it's
Yeah.
become a habit. Every repository
Yeah.
just do a dash s.
You have to put this sign off thing. Yeah, those are things you know after you do the first first PR merged, or like before you merge, and all these things. So yeah, see, today you came and those who attempted this thing, you got to know about a lot of steps, okay, which is just a stepping stone for you, and now you guys could go on and start with some other issues. So yeah, that's it. You have to start with it. Just sending a hi is enough, in that Indus channel, and then there are people like this. Also, I think Madhav, you could share this contributor workshop that recently had. Right? Yeah, it would help these guys.
Yeah, I added a link when the talk started, but I'll send it again as well. But also, if possible, if you guys can probably send all of these links
Yeah. We
as
will
an
again
email or
send
something.
a mail.
So
Send
Yeah,
a
we
mail.
can do that later. Let's not worry about that right now. What I'm more concerned is with, please make this interactive. Ask questions and mute yourselves. I'm sure
Exactly.
you have doubts. Because we only see one PR right now, right, Madhav?
I approved another one, so
Okay, that's
things should
two
be
PR.
looking up. Yeah.
I mean, like, there are 30 people, at least 10 PRs, folks. Let's aim for that.
There is a PR by someone called Sonu Meena. Your PR looks good, but if you can just like
Isn't that 18
mark it
hours
ready
ago?
for review.
Probably not from this session.
Yeah, that's weird. Okay, I don't know. But sorry, never mind then. If it's 18 hours ago, then never mind. My bad.
So there's only one PR right now.
Yeah, actually, see, if you're having problem, if you're not able to, sign the CLA or make the PR, or you are stuck in some step, just come and ask. Okay, this is the live thing you're getting. Otherwise, you have to go and read the docs and do it. So yeah, come up and just ask the questions. Okay, it's very important actually.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, my question is, after cloning the Git, what is the next step?
Uh, go into the repository you have cloned.
Yeah, how to do that?
Can you share your screen?
Yeah, I don't have the access.
Yeah, just raise your hand. Just
Raise
raise
your
your hand.
hand and you'll be given the access.
Yeah, anyone could allow him.
Yeah, done.
Yeah, done. Yeah, you could share.
Yeah. Wait, wait.
Even Dim said rule number one: ask questions.
Yeah, exactly. Come ask questions, and yeah, you see how welcoming the community is. Once you send hi, like Dims Long, they came up with their own things, and even Long sent this ingress dev thing. Yeah, guys, come
It's
and join.
amazing. Just drop a hi, 2 letters.
Then,
Sorry, I got disconnected.
Yeah, no
yeah,
worries. We are here.
Wait, let me share. I think, is it visible?
no, I guess not visible.
No, not yet.
Is it? Hello.
I can't see it. I don't know about Deva and Madhav.
Yeah, same here. I also can't see any other like wait no, someone else was, I think Monali was also having the problem. Could you try and share? If any
Yes,
one of you
yes,
could try
ma'am.
and then
Yes,
the
ma'am.
others problem. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, there's a question after GitHub Association. What next? Could you clarify what you are asking? Like after GitHub Association, I don't get that.
Where is
Madhav,
my
if you,
screen visible?
Yep.
yeah,
What's next means?
So you do have Git installed, right?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so like open. I don't know how. What? Yeah, just clone this. Do Git clone.
yeah, it is
So
done.
Yeah,
I
you
think.
you have cloned it, right? Like open your. Do you use VS Code or what?
VS Code.
Yeah. So open VS Code and open this folder which you have cloned.
Yeah.
By the way, that code dot thing I did will only work on VS Code. So if you're using something else, just open it using that.
I don't know where it.
Yeah. So I think it cloned it inside your E drive or
Main run.
VS Code. No, I think it got cloned in the
where
not
does
in it.
this clone it? I don't.
Can you go to your terminal and type pwd?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, not this terminal. The
That
Git,
CMD one. That
the
CMD
Git
sim.
one. Git one.
Yeah,
Great one.
Hmm.
yeah, it's open. Yeah.
User is
Then do ls. I think it will give the list. Just type
She's
ls.
in C
Okay, C
users HP.
users HP,
Okay,
right?
so go to File in VS Code and click Open. Go to C users HP. You should
Yeah, the
see the
contributors
VS
Yeah.
Code.
diagram.
See, see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and now
Oh
India.
no! Yeah, open it with code. Perfect.
Okay, sure, that works.
Now open the VS Code terminal. Does Git work in the VS Code terminal on Windows?
I'm not
I
sure.
couldn't hear.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah, it works.
Next, what to do here?
Can
Uh,
you go to India?
she need
Yeah.
to create her branch first, right?
Uh, I think it's okay. Since it's a fork, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
You could open the terminal. Open the terminal as well as like
Command Control J if you're on Windows. No, the VS Code one.
Uh,
Yeah.
the VS Code, like beside help, there's a terminal. You can go
yeah.
and select Git from there. Like it's PowerShell. Yeah, default. You have to select Git. Right?
Yeah, there is this drop down in the right corner. See, there is a PowerShell, then addition, and beside that, I think.
Git was fun.
Yeah, Git Bash.
Yep. Perfect.
Yeah. Next.
Yeah. Now I think you
Now
need.
under open like under remote in VS Code create a new file with your name and .md as an extension. You can do it in VS Code only, like under
Yeah,
India.
remote directory. So are you seeing the remote directory? Just go and right click and do create a new file.
I couldn't hear. Can I repeat it?
Like, do you see on the left side in the VS Code panel the India and remote folder?
Yeah.
Yeah, so right click on remote and create a new file there. Yeah, under learners, create a new file.
Learners. No, not here, not here, not here. Learners under.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Create a
yeah,
new file with your name and .md as the extension.
Yeah.
yeah.
Now write any message you want.
I'm actually really happy with the number of PRs that are coming in. So just
I'm not
congratulations to
checking.
everyone
That's
that's been doing it. It's great work.
How
And
many?
for those who haven't been able to do one yet, don't worry. We you can reach out to us on Slack anytime. We'll walk you through it how to do it. Don't worry about it.
Now do
No
in
issues.
your terminal. You've signed the CLA, right, Manali?
Yes. Yes.
So do git add and then dot.
Perfect.
Then do git commit dash s dash m.
That's all.
Dash s and dash m. S is for Superman. No, you didn't have to press enter right now.
Dash S is for Superman.
No, but I was saying S is for Superman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, M,
And
then
space and
colon,
then
double,
like in quotes write a message.
double quotes.
Double quotes, yeah. Close the message with another double quotes and press
Yeah.
enter.
Cool. Done.
I think there's a delay because yeah. And now do git push origin master. Press enter and then open your browser. Go to where you, yeah, I can see the browser. Go to the repository, like the GitHub, the third last tab. Yeah, just refresh it. You should probably see the option for creating a PR.
Yeah, just refresh this one, then it will come. Yeah.
Did I not see the option for the PR? Right. Okay, no
It-
worries.
It's there. It's there.
Contribute.
Is
Contribute.
there, you could go with the contribute one, but I think before that, do the fetch upstream and then go for contribute.
No, don't do
No,
that. That'll
that's
create
okay.
conflicts.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Just click on contribute.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now you should see a compare and pull request option.
Open pull request one.
Yeah, that's the one.
Create pull request.
Yes. Yeah, you can go ahead and create it.
Create the pull request. Yeah.
Yeah, done.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Now we will merge it. Okay, no, she's not done the CLA.
Why it is showing no CLA? I think.
I'm done.
Don't worry. Go to the screen only.
That screen only, you will get, the bot will send you the
Yeah,
message.
the
right?
bot will send. I think that's how I signed it. Cause
Go below, go below.
go below. Yeah.
Yeah, see, the first one. Yeah, click on
Individual
the,
sign up.
yeah, click on the first one, and yeah, sign individual sign up, individual sign up. Yeah, anyone who is facing problem here could, see how this is working, the CLA thing.
Yeah, sign as an individual.
Sign up.
Yeah, go with that. Add more identities. GitHub is there. Look at that. Add more identities. GitHub. Yeah. Authorize. Submitted. Yeah, check your email. The email you have created, like used to create the GitHub, you will get an agreement in the email ID.
Yes,
No, not
yes,
this
sir.
one, not this mail. I think. No, not this one. Wait. Yeah, this one. They have,
Linux
Govind.
Foundation one.
Yeah.
Yep,
Review
yep,
and
yep.
sign. Yeah, go open that and review and sign. Yeah, review and sign. Yeah, click on get started. I think it will show you where are the places to fill up. Yeah, go on now. Keep the same email ID as your GitHub one.
Yes.
This is not the email ID field. I think this is
Yeah,
the address field.
that is the
You
home
can
ID.
leave this. You don't need
Yeah,
to.
actually, you could leave that as well, and telephone you have to give obviously.
You can turn off your screen if you.
Yeah, exactly. And
Because this will probably be recorded. Just turn off your screen, enter the number,
turn
and
off your screen and put it with it.
next.
Yeah, do that. Actually, after that, it is pretty straightforward. You could go and sign the
But
signature.
yeah, still click next, and if you face any problem, just share your screen again.
Yeah. In the meantime, Madhav, you could take the question of Pritesh.
Sure. So what he's asking is Kubernetes are more about understanding the architecture rather than the code. But as far as I've seen, let it be in the Kubernetes repo, the Docker repo, they heavily code in Golang or Python. Why is that so? Okay, so there are two sides of looking at this. You would be more concerned with the architecture if you were someone who is concerned with managing a cluster, but you would be more concerned with the code if you are someone who is developing Kubernetes applications. So both are important, but it depends on who you are as a consumer. And the second part of the question, to answer it, why they code heavily in Golang, mainly, at least I don't know if there's an actual reason, but why I think it uses Golang primarily is because Golang has excellent concurrency primitives. So if you look at, and I won't go into details of Golang here, but one thing that I'll tell you is that Go is by default designed to be a simple language. The code you write will end up being simple. The code you write will end up being well written, unless you deliberately write just like some random characters. So, one very good reason that I can think of is, uh, and this is a very good advocacy point for just Go in general, is that Go's concurrency primitives are very, very, very good. They're very simple and they're very powerful. What I mean by concurrency primitives is that, um, wait, how do I explain this without going into too much detail? Arsh, you can probably take this up since you have a whole series of blogs on this.
Don't explain concurrency. Let's not go there.
So, okay, so
Just Go
yeah,
is a nice language, and it had certain things which was needed for Kubernetes, and so Kubernetes is written in Go. So indirectly, most of the stuff around it also gets written in Go.
yeah,
No need to worry about
if
it.
you can learn it, then it's a good, it's a really fun language to learn.
If you know any other language, like picking up Go should be very. It should be straightforward because it's like just the same things, but
Yeah, like one of my friends who does a lot of stuff in Go. So he says like Go is the simplicity of like Python, but speed of C. So that's like it's pretty cool.
Munadi, I think you still are facing some troubles because your CLA still says no. Is that the case? Please.
Yes, but I will set this kind of
Yeah, good
Yeah,
share
you
your
can
screen.
share your screen and we'll get your PR merged today before we end this call.
Yeah.
and it's done. CLA thing.
It is done. So
I think it will take some time. You could refresh that thing.
no, I am refreshing her PR and it's still saying no. So
I think there is something.
this is the final step, right, Madhav?
Yeah.
Okay, let me just check something. Just give me a second.
I think it's done. The CLA
Is
thing.
there mismatch of email IDs?
No, no. Only one.
Okay, then it should actually.
Oh wait, I think there's a command to recheck the CLA and you need to force that. How do you do that? Wait.
Yeah, I just issued that. Let's see if
Yeah,
it
yeah.
works. Yeah, done.
Done. Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Nice.
Yeah, Arsh. Okay, let me just LGTM that.
Cool. So we got a lot of contributors today. You could
I
get a
do that.
Kubernetes in your account now. You're a contributor.
But yeah, there's still 2-3 PRs. I think we covered the CLA process also on video. So if like this is recorded and shared with you all, you
Wait,
should.
Pritish, this sounds like an interesting conversation. Do you want to unmute and elaborate?
What are
Okay.
you all talking about?
TypeScript versus Go.
TypeScript could have replaced Go. Why do you think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, we can in Go. It's such that we can give data type like statically typed variables, and TypeScript means that like its only work is to strictly type the variable. So
Since
But
this
that
is
way,
getting technical, but yeah, I know what Madhav is going to say, and I can see it on his face.
no,
It's
that's a
not
good point. That's a good
about the
point. So
types.
yeah, so I am like maximum noob in like anything web related, but at least from my understanding of like web development, TypeScript helps you bring types into your JavaScript development. That's a very good plus point. And Go also is a statically typed language, but the use cases are a little bit different because the main selling point of Go is first of all its simplicity, which I don't know if TypeScript has. I'm sure it has or it doesn't have, but I'm not arguing that. But the main thing in Go is that it's extremely quick build times. So if you want to build a binary, it's very quick to do so in Go, and the compiler of Go optimizes things very interestingly for you over there. And another thing that Go really provides is certain levels of abstraction that you might not get in certain other languages. So the use case for Go is mainly for things like not running in the browser. Go is not meant for that. It doesn't do that well. There is a project called TinyGo, which uses WebAssembly. So the that has a lot of potential of running in the browser, but Go is not meant for running in the browser essentially. So the TypeScript and Go are two different entities in themselves, and they have very good use cases independently, and they solve their own use cases very well. But I wouldn't say one can replace the other. Both of them are very, very helpful in their own use cases.
fair enough. Fair enough.
By the way, so Go has this annual conference, GopherCon, and Madhav is going to be speaking there this time. So you
Please
should
register.
check out his talk.
Actually, not just like in general. I saw the speaker lineup. It's really interesting. There are talks about 3D printing in Go and all. And it's really cool. Like I want to attend some of those talks. It's really interesting. So that might be a lot of fun to attend, like 3D printing, how you can use Go for that.
Hey, I guess you are going there, to speak.
I don't know how that's going to work because like of COVID and
Is it partial?
whatnot.
Is it hybrid or completely?
It's hybrid, but
Yeah.
they are everything I've received so far indicates that it's in person, but it's definitely
But
hybrid.
still, you'll have the like worst case scenario. You will
Yeah,
be able
worst
to submit
case.
your
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
recorded, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So I think we've covered everything, and it'll be on record. So the only thing left is if you want to ask any more questions. Otherwise, we
Yeah.
can.
And yeah, I think there is a question, Madhav, if you want to add. I just added my view on my first experience in KubeCon. The breakout session worked as a magic for me, and few of the talks, yeah, which I viewed afterwards, not in the KubeCon. So yeah, Madhav and Arsh could go on this question.
Yeah, Arsh, do you
What
want to take
What
that up
is the
first?
question? I can't. I don't know. I think
Can you
I
see
can
the
see.
chat?
No, I can't. It says I no longer have access.
Okay, so the question basically is for KubeCon NA that's coming up, there are quite a few workshops and quite a lot of talks which are going to happen. But two of the workshops that are there, so Purneshwar has signed up for GitOps and Kubernetes AI Day. But there are quite a few of them that are going to be happening, like other different types of things. So, what are your views on that? Like, how would a beginner approach something like this?
So last KubeCon was my first KubeCon, and I don't. There's no right way to approach it, right? But I'll tell you how I approached it. I knew that all the talks were going to be recorded, so I'll be honest, like I wasn't being too stressed out about that I have to attend the talks. But during KubeCon, like CNCF Slack, we Dims run the community runs a hallway track, which is basically like it. There's a Zoom link dropped in, and everyone can join and chat with people, and that was the best part for me. I was just most of the time in the hallway track talking to new people, and
Yeah,
that breakout rooms, and you get to collect cool swag if you
same,
visit the booths.
same. So,
So don't stress about it since everything is recorded. That's the
yeah,
TLDR.
yeah. Just like at most events, people go to like talk, build relationships with other people because like talks are anyway going to be recorded, and talks are definitely an important part of a conference, and you should attend some if you have if any particular talk interests you, but don't stress out too much about it. Just try and meet new people and like talk and just, like it's okay
And
if you don't understand everything that's happening around. Just like have fun.
networking is important. I think, like I know you two guys both from the KCD hallway sessions. That's the way we met. Actually, we interacted, and the whole day we were like interacting a lot. And that's how I called up these guys. Okay, and I knew okay they are doing a lot of work, and that's how I also got into this in-depth and actively took part because of that hallway session. So yeah, as a beginner, Purneshwar, if you come up in the hallway, you will meet a lot of amazing folks. Actually, it was constituted to India, and there are a lot of folks like Stephen, Dan Pop, and I interacted with them in the breakout sessions, and it turned out to be very fruitful for me also. So come up and you
Yeah,
will.
you'll meet a lot of interesting people. So there was one person I met during the hallway track. So he's from Australia. He's living out of his van currently. So
Oh,
he
Grace, are you referring to Grace?
no, I don't think it was it Chris. Okay, I don't know, but so this person he's living out of his van currently because
He
like
has a dog.
yeah, no, I don't
Yeah.
know, I don't remember too well, but like the
It's
housing
Chris Short,
costs
I think.
apparently. No, it's not Chris Shot. He has a proper house and a studio and everything. So basically, this person was like, the housing costs are way too much. So I just live in my van. So I have like a proper rollout sofa, bed, and like I have a whole Wi-Fi receiving station on the roof of my van. Everything is solar powered, and I drive around Australia and I do my work remotely. So that sounds amazing to me. But like you get to meet such interesting people. So just have fun with it. I would say don't stress out too much.
So yeah, any more question, guys? Hit up. We are just 10 minutes away from the scheduled ending time. So yeah. Okay, I guess no more questions, or people are thinking about it. Yeah, anyways, the in-depth channel is open, and yeah, I will share this. Like I think the uh, Twitter account of ours and everyone is shared, so you could hit these guys up and see what they're doing. Okay, yeah, this is a great question. Madhav, would you want to take it or ours?
I can't see questions. Sorry.
How is Docker and Kubernetes related?
Oh, this is a controversial question.
Okay, so as I mentioned, so that whole rant I went, not rant, but like that whole ramble I went on about containers. Docker is a means for you to create containers and like manage their life cycle. So you can create containers, you can delete containers, you can kill containers, all sorts of other interesting things related to containers. So Docker is a way for you to interact with containers. What Kubernetes does is it manages these containers when you have more than one system you're running these on. So if you're running something on one system, Docker would probably be enough for you. If you're running things on two systems, then you could probably like write a shell script to like manage things, and you probably don't need Kubernetes. But let's say you're running on 500 different systems at once. What Kubernetes basically does is it manages different workloads. When I say workloads, what I essentially mean is something you want to run. So Kubernetes manages this, and Kubernetes leverages different container runtimes. So when I say runtimes, you can think of it as something which creates containers or does things with containers. So Docker is a supported runtime with Kubernetes. There was something called a Docker shim deprecation. I won't go into the details of that. So Docker is a supported runtime. There is something called containerd, which is another runtime which is by default enabled in Kubernetes and is a CNCF project as well. Uh, it's big disclaimer. It's totally okay if you don't understand most of the words that are coming out of my mouth here. You don't have to. All you need to do is, if something like this interests you, there is a link for people to get started with like some of these basic resources that is available. If you want, you can. If you have specific questions for specific resources, you can either put it up on Indev, or you can DM Arsh or Deba or me, and we'll help you out with those specific topics. And so basically, yeah. So Kubernetes helps with managing containers. So can we say Kubernetes as a load balancer? Um, Kubernetes has a feature for load balancing, but Kubernetes as a system, you can't really say that it is a load balancer in itself. So if the one line selling point of Kubernetes, if you see on GitHub, is that it's a production grade container scheduling system. So container scheduling means that it puts different things to run on different machines on your cluster. So cluster is basically just a collection of systems that you have. If I don't use Docker, can I still use Kubernetes? Yes, you can. Not an issue.
For guys, if you are in Index channel, there is a thing that check the contributors, like the, what do you say that dims like
Pinned thread, like on top of the channel, you'll see
yeah.
some description sort of thing, and there's a link for beginner Kubernetes resources. You can use that. I'll drop it here. Oh wait, I can't stay in chats, but yeah.
Yes. Yeah, guys. Any other questions or like? Yeah, cool. So we have 5 minutes left. Anything else you want to say, guys, Madhav or Harsh? Yeah.
Nothing really. Just like don't be afraid to speak up and ask your questions. That's pretty much it. Like I know this is being said a lot, but it's also the most important thing. Like contributing is, it comes just
Everything will
naturally.
come. Yeah,
Yeah.
everything will come automatically once you start talking, start asking questions and dropping messages. It'll
Like
take
this.
time, obviously. Like
Yeah.
you can't expect that you'll drop a message and by the end of the week you'll have 10 PRs landed in different SIGs, but it's a process. It'll take time. But the start is dropping the first message.
Just like don't worry if you can't get a
Yeah.
PR in for months, 2 months. It doesn't matter. Just have fun learning about the project. And this is, I know we've been talking a lot about Kubernetes, and that's mainly because we have experience only with Kubernetes as a CNCF project. But the same thing, everything that we have talked about applies to everything else in CNCF. So there are a lot of projects in CNCF that you can get involved with. If you have specific interests, if you have specific language preferences, you can find projects related to that, or you can text us or DM us on Slack, and we can help you find projects related to those your specific interests as well. So the same thing applies to every other CNCF project as well. We've just been focused on Kubernetes because that's the only thing we have experience with in CNCF, and we can't really speak with for other. So Deba can probably speak for Chaos Mesh, but yeah, the same thing applies for other communities as well.
Same, it's actually same, nothing difference. The same community exists, and the same way you need to interact and start with contribution. Yeah, so yeah, that's it. I think the major motive was today to motivate you people, to start with this contribution, to break the stigma that everyone has, like when we start, how we start, because that's what you saw, where problems are arising, the CLA part or merging the PR. So sometimes, like I used to think when I started, I used to think these are very trivial questions. Should I ask or should I not? So yeah, asking those questions are important, and what Deem's message and what Madhav just said, asking question is important. And I think we have able to show that part of open source and what is important and how you get started. And most of you are now like, how many PRs like Madhav you got in that repo? I think around.
I mean, I've personally merged at least 5 or 6, so I'm
Yeah,
not sure of the
so-
exact number, but that's a really good number.
But if
So-
the main target is if these 5 or 6 people stick with that Kubernetes, or you start with any other project that you're interested in, stick for a long time, then this whole thing is fruitful. Yeah. So from a gather of 70 people, if at least one person continues every time, stick to the project, that's a pretty much success that we are saying. Because when we started, we said, there are lack of people to Trizing, or there are lack of people in everywhere in Kubernetes or most of the projects. There is a lack of contributors coming up and starting up the project. So yeah, if this number of people, at least 5 people, come up and stay for at least next 1 year or 6 months, then yeah, pretty much we are successful in doing what we had learned and giving back to the community. And thanks us and Madhav for giving time in a weekend like this, like sparing to us. So yeah, like Madhav is also working and us as student like me, so it's very difficult to find time also. Yeah, it was awesome. And yeah, so it's a great demonstration of how you network and get people. See, now I networked with these guys, so I called them up for this webinar. Next, you meet someone else. After 1 or 2 years, you could also arrange this, or maybe after 6 months, there would be some other guys. There would be some other guys who are new contributors, and you would like to do such things with them. So you are also welcome. So that is what the community is, and that is how we are benefited from it. Yeah, I it from my side. And again, thanks for your time.
Yes.
I just
Thanks
pinged
for
them
having
on
us.
Monday.
Yeah.
This was a nice session.
Yeah.
So thank you
Yeah.
for doing it.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
just congratulations to everyone who got a PRN. But if you haven't been able to get one in, no issues at all. If you are facing any particular problem, just reach out. We'll help you get the PR merged. Not an issue.
Yeah, I think that's it. Uddansu, you could go ahead if you had something to say.
Yeah, I'd like to, on behalf of Cyborg, I'd like to thank both of you for giving us an awesome session. So it was very insightful, and I guess many people will now start contributing to open source. So yeah, thank you for your time.
No issues.
Thank you
Thanks.
for having us. No worries. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll drop off
thank
now.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Have
Yeah.
a good weekend,
Bye.
everyone.
Have a good one. Weekend. Bye.
Bye, Madhav. Bye, us.
Bye.